All right, thanks for everybody for your time. I'll try to keep this quick. I don't see it lasting more than 15, 20 minutes, half hour at the longest, unless you really want to see some stuff and we can try to fight through it together. But predominantly what I wanted to do, you'll notice in the chat that I did post a link to this website that you're looking at right here, and you can do a little bit more searching for yourself too about some of the other little things that have been updated. Keep in mind that first and foremost, obviously we didn't do this for 24 because we didn't really have a real kickoff for using Revit 24, but some of the other information that you might want to take a look at is going back and looking at the 24 version. I know a lot more of us are in 24, so you probably noticed some things, some nuances and things that have changed from 23. But I strongly suggest if you get a chance to go and take a look, just so you can start taking advantage of some of these tools. So what I want to do is I have a list here of, in particular, ones that I wanted to make note of that I think will affect all of you in a very positive way. Some things are going to be kind of in depth, and we won't really go through a demo of it. We'll just kind of look and see what they've got. Some of them I actually have a small little demo I can represent some of it with. So, just if you have any questions, just jump out, interrupt me, ask me. It's totally casual. Again, wasn't mandatory, but I'm glad and thankful for everybody that came. It at least makes me feel like I'm doing something right? That at least you guys can put up with me for 20 minutes. All right. So the very first thing that I want to talk about, you can probably see on my screen right now, the Dynamo part of it, don't really worry about that too much. This admin add-ins manager, I don't know how many of you, if any of you, have installed the DiRoots app add-in manager, but what that does is, and I will open it up right now so you can see what it does. This gives you the ability, of course, I kind of have a little bit of a disease. So when it comes to Revit, I have a lot of add-ins. So you can see my top board is completely stacked with them, right? And you can see even more over here, but I hate to admit this, but this isn't even all of them. And how I control that is with this DiRoots add-in manager. So this was a plugin, a third-party plugin that just came from the company DiRoots. And basically what you can do is go in and turn on and off different add-ins that you have installed, and they will immediately come on if they're not already on, or if they're already on and you're turning them off, they won't show up the next time you restart Revit. In essence, that's what this now does. Out of the box, Revit now gives you the ability to be able to turn these on and off yourself. So I can show you that really quick. It's under, I've got too many Revit files open here. It's under Manage, just like everything else in Revit. And it's under this little icon right here, Add-ins Manager. So when you pick that, you can actually go through here and disable things or bring them back at any given time, which will not only, it's really good for two reasons. One, it makes it so your loading time is faster. So as you can see over here, you're like, oh, 1 second, oh, no big deal, less than a second, no big deal. But then you start getting into these big ones like PyRevit, which got a lot of tools in them, and you're looking at 23 seconds. That's taking 23 extra seconds for Revit to start. Is it a big deal for me? No, because it's an invaluable tool. But what this will allow you to do is if you know you're not going to use it for the day, just turn it off and it'll make your Revit run faster. And make the load in faster and all that good stuff. So you just want to make sure you be careful not to remove things that you need, on a regular basis. Like once we get into the issues, add-ins, and the coin all section box, we take advantage of that. The PyRevit's a big one. Just make sure you know what you're doing when you do this. You can always turn it back on, but you might have to restart Revit in order to get it to come back. But this is now built in, so this is a huge deal. Probably more excitable for me than any one of you, but if you like to dabble in the world of add-ins, that's where you can control them. All right. If I can find the right one. All right, let's go back to the next one. Wall wraps. So I'm going to bounce around this a little bit because they brought them in different times, but a lot of you may or may not realize or have paid a lot of attention to the fact that each wall type can have a wrapping option set to it. So as this will kind of show you, you now have the ability to control this in the canvas without having to go and editing the properties of each wall type again. if you're not used to messing around with this, it may not seem like a big deal, but trust me, it's a big deal because, and I'll show you this. I keep opening the wrong one. Um, Basically, I know we have a set of walls types, right? Everybody's pretty familiar. All the architects, at least, are pretty familiar with the wall types. And this obviously doesn't do much for mechanical friends, but at least you'll kind of maybe be able to see this in reviews that something is going on and maybe be able to remind the person working on it, hey, look, could you join this? Or, however else just to help out. Um, but what I wanted to show you is we have these basic walls here, and each one of these wall types, if I look at each one of these, you can see they have the option to be whether they can wrap with inserts. So at doors, will they wrap the material on the inside or the outside? Will they wrap at ends? So can it wrap the exterior, the interior, none? And whether it's a function interior, exterior. So as long as you have this the wrapping function selected, normally we should technically have three versions of this wall because there's some that we want inserts to wrap. There's some instances where we don't want inserts to wrap, but we want ends to wrap, and so on. I don't really worry about that too much at this point because I didn't want to get too sophisticated with all this stuff until we could get to a nice base level. But what this allows us to do now is not even worry about that anymore because now that this has this set to exterior, now in Revit 25, you can actually in the canvas pick and choose. So it's almost like an instance based selection now. So that is awesome. I think that is really cool. So now if you have like the end of a wall, maybe, and I don't have an example open, but maybe in one of your healthcare projects, you around a drinking fountain or something, and you had a stub wall. Now you don't even, maybe you didn't even notice this before, but when you look at it, you can see that in this fine view, which most of our plans are, you don't see that end cap getting covered, but when you click this, now you can. So that's really awesome when you're trying to mess around with graphics and getting things done quickly. All right. Multiple alignment tools. So this is something that some of you maybe have, if you've delved into Revit and you really are interested in add-ins and how things can speed up your productivity. This is kind of a big one. I will admit that I'm not 100% sure the perfect workflow for this, but I can demonstrate it. So what this is multiple alignments and they're contextual. So I have, if you have texts, if you have, I don't know, let's just do that. Let's do this and let's do that. So it's all random, right? And let's change the size so it's not so ludicrous. We'll put this at 330 seconds. All right. So what this tool does is when you select tags, I think I have to go back to it to say, I think it was tags, text notes, keynotes. There's a lot of different things that it affects. Keynotes, text notes, and tags. Okay, so that's pretty much it. But what will happen is when you select more than one now you get this little multiple align tool up here. For those of you that have looked into this, Bird Tools was one that originally created this a long time ago. And if you know Autodesk, they like to steal other people's thunder. So they've incorporated it now, which is pretty cool. What you can do with this is if we have all these and we want these all to be lined up at the top, you just go find this guy right here, all elements top. There we go, line them all up perfectly. So it's always based on, what you've selected. Now, something to keep in mind, one potential workflow for this that might speed up your time is let's just say you have notes around a building or, even a tag for walls or something. And you can actually utilize a couple tools to make this super easy for you to edit in the future. Like notice I can still save a selection set here. So I can save the selection set as all door tags. And let's just say that somebody's added more wall tags. You can obviously go through that edit process and add that to your collection. But once you've made that filter type, now you can actually recall that selection. It'll automatically select all these, so you don't have to go through and select individual ones like this. If I could get in there close enough and keep selecting the door. That's not what I want. There we go. But it'll automatically select all these for you, and it's a very fast, nope, I want them to be at the bottom. Or nope, I want them to be left. Nope, I want them to be in the center. whatever the case may be. Like I said, again, I'm not super, I haven't messed around with this tool a lot yet, but I can see how powerful it could be. There's a lot of different situations like this one and this one here are pretty cool. This one is pretty interesting as well, these two here, because it'll distribute them vertically. At what point does it figure out which one goes where? I don't know. I can't tell you that. Maybe after further evaluation, I could do that, but right now it just automatically puts them in line. So you can do it with text notes, keynotes, all that kind of stuff. So we can even do it with text. So we'll go ahead and now it's split three equal spaces between them. We can align them to the right. We can align them to the left. We can align them to center. So try to take advantage of this if you can. I think it can be a great tool to save you some time as well. It'll probably be hard for me to use because I'm still used to, grabbing things and letting it infer because that's just the way we always had to do it. So that's what I'm used to. But feel free to use that aspect. All right. Moving on. All right. We've got center room references and auto align tags. This is a big one. Some of you may or may not have seen me do this. I actually created a Dynamo script years ago with the help of the public, blogosphere, we call it. And because I'm definitely not a Dynamo whiz by any means, but I did create one that will do the same exact thing. So what that does is, and I should be able to show this, I am going to, sorry for health clinic people, and trust me, I will not save this, so don't worry. I'm going to move a couple of these guys out, and I'm going to move some of these centers. So as you know, as your project goes along, sometimes you create rooms on the fly, and if you create them, place all rooms that don't have rooms, you place them automatically. They'll automatically go to the center of the centroid of that space that it finds. Although sometimes you create them on the fly, one at a time. You'll hit architecture, you'll hit room, and you'll just start clicking around, right? And you don't take the time to pay attention what's in the center because it's why would you do that, right? Well, this tool will allow you to be able to do that now, and it's built directly right into Revit, which is pretty cool. And it shows you here exactly how you can do it. It kind of gives you a kind of a playthrough. And if you're interested in looking in 24 and 23 still, and you're still interested in doing this for your projects, please let me know because I do have a Dynamo script that works wonderful for this. But now I won't need to use it anymore. But basically, what you do is you select the things that you want to fix in the terms of the centroid, and it'll give you the option to recenter the reference. So when I recenter it, see what it does. It takes the overall shape and it places this guy in the center. Now that's pretty good for most things. But if you get like an oddball shaped room, like a L-shaped or something like this even, if I do it for this one, let's see where this one goes, because I already did it, so I already knew it was going to go. But you can see that, is that really center? It doesn't really look the greatest, right? So you might still want to adjust your tag, but at least it gives you an ability to be able to place things very quickly to the center of the rooms to start from, especially if somebody's taken some time and moved them around and now those things don't make sense. You can do the same exact thing with the actual names, the room names. So now you can just move it to the room reference. And then you can go about your business of resetting where you want that to go. So very, very cool tool. Glad that Dynamo is not necessary anymore. Be a time saver for me for sure. And I may still use the Dynamo script just because, I can select many of them. And I believe you can do the same thing here. Like I can still do the typical cross-reference selection and then pick, rooms and room tags. And then it should come up and give me, well, maybe not at the same time. Maybe I have to do one at a time. But what it should do is it should still give me be able to recenter them. So another cool tool. All right, next on the list, I have in Canvas or in context spell checking. So especially if you're like me, everybody knows it gets messages from me. I'm sure it gets irritating. I fat finger it all the time and I'm typing spaces where they shouldn't be and all kinds of goofy stuff. That's built into Revit now in the text editor. So you probably noticed when I started writing this before, as I start typing, and if I click off of it, going to make a liar out of me. When I click back in, you can see that it's red. And when you click it, it'll give you the options up here, what it thinks it is. So it's a spell check built directly into Revit for you. It's not perfect. It's not the best, but it still keeps you from having to retype it into Grammarly or anything else for that matter to try to get the right spelling.
Hey, Jason, Travis has a question, and then just for awareness, any text boxes in Revit, there is spell check in other versions. That is
It's just not as
it's not as prevalent, right? But it's
Yeah.
something that we do run into. A lot of typos happen in our general notes or our keynotes, so that is definitely something we need to be on top of as we're typing these things out, or even using the keynote template, which refers back to a TXT file. We should probably run spell check there too. And then Travis, you're up, sir. I just happened to see your hand raised.
Yeah, he hit the wrong button. Don't embarrass him any more than you have to, Eric. Yeah, there you go. Thanks though, Eric. Yep, cool. No, good note. Yeah, you could do spell check before, but it just wasn't built into the display, and no one really knew it, and it was really slow, and no one probably was going to use it because it was really slow. So that's a minor one, but still kind of powerful. In canvas wall joining is another one. So I know several of you have had this in the past, so you'll like this. And I'm just going to let this demonstrate just so you can kind of see what it basically is trying to do. You can obviously click the join modes directly in it in Canvas, so you don't have to keep hitting that button up here in the upper left-hand side. But there's also somewhat related to this, another similar, where is it? I can't remember which one it is. I think it is down here. Yes, this guy. I know some of you have ran into this, where you have a wall that you might have tile on the inside, and then you got to manually join them, and then the doors. You don't have to do that anymore. There's an option where you can actually tell it to auto join as you place it. So that is super cool. So now you can place your tile inside of the wall. It'll automatically join. If you put a door in there, it'll automatically create both opening in both. So that's pretty cool. I thought that was a pretty good one. All right. I did see one on here that I didn't list that I really wish I would have. So I'm just going to touch on that one really quick. 21 minutes in, so I'm going to try to wrap this up here in the next 10 minutes. At the very worst, if I can find where this was. Oh, it was the layering of duplicate layers and compound structures. So what this lets you do is this lets you, before, this is kind of minor for some people, but for those of us that, created wall types and messed with them for many, many, many years, you always had this problem where you're like, oh man, I need to create another Jitboard wall in this wall composition. And you'd have to click insert and it would create a new one. You'd have to recreate all the same stuff that was here before, but you don't have to do that now. Now you can duplicate it directly in. That's a huge time saver. So now you can duplicate any layer and it'll bring all the settings with it. So that's really awesome. Minor, but awesome. All right. This one to me is one of the bigger applause type features and options that I think I'm glad that they brought in. How much time do you guys spend when you're messing around in this browser and you're looking for stuff? I don't know about you, but me, there's a ton. You can always do searches and things if you kind of know what we're looking for. It's, the reason why we try to leave our first floor levels all views, all named 01, all second floor 02, 01 code, 01 root ceiling RCP. So that, there's a reason why we do that. And it's because we never used to have the search function before. So we always wanted it to group properly over here on the side. So it was easy to find things. Well, they made it even easier now because now you have tabs. You can actually go down through here instead of scrolling down through schedules and groups and all that stuff. They actually have it where you can isolate them now. So that's really cool too, in my opinion, because now if I'm going to do families, I don't have to scroll all the way down to the bottom of something that had every single category expanded, and I can go right to it. Again, you can still do the search function. So if we're looking for double doors, I can just type in double and it'll take me there. It'll take me there if I'm over here in the home page too. And it actually, if you notice that, it actually filters everything down by those same exact letters. So now it's not just highlighting in the list. Now it's actually filtering them up and filtering everything else out. I think this is a huge deal. This for me, I don't know about you guys, but I spend, 65, 70% of my day in this box trying to figure out settings and parameters and all those kinds of things. And just being able to quickly go to the things that I'm looking for, I'm going to start working on to work in my own workflows because I think that's great. All right, a couple quick more. Let's see, there's a sheet collection thing now. I've got a note to myself that I need to read up more on fully understand what's possible, but it's more than just a sheet set. It's basically there to, in fact, if I show it to you, you might get a little bit better idea. I'll just click on it here, of what it could do for us. Oh yeah, the home menu has changed too, which I actually kind of like it better because now you can do searches through all your projects and not have to try to find it. But where is this? Let me find this for you. Sheet collections. This is interesting. So let's say you have bid pack 1 and bid pack 2. And I know every person on this call ran into this because Rosebud was this way. And we had several bid packs really. And we really would have liked to have had the letters or the sheet name and sheet number be the exact same. Well, you couldn't do that before 25 because A100 is A100 in that database, and that's all there is to it. Now you can create sheet collections where you can have the same page numbers in different collections. This is awesome. Really awesome for really convoluted and complex projects. Like I said, I haven't messed around with this completely yet. I did watch a few videos on it. I need to get more into this because this could really solve a lot of our issues going forward, with how we've dealt with, linking models and, trying to work around that limitation. But this one's a pretty big one. This is pretty cool. If you get a chance to go take a look at this, I would suggest that you get an opportunity to go take a look at this video and watch this. It's pretty cool. So the new Revit Home, if you guys haven't noticed this, this is the new Revit Home. This is the old Revit Home. Doesn't look too terribly different, but it does vary in a couple different ways. It actually will show you every single project that you are a part of right here in this list. And you can search directly from here now. You don't have to go to Autodesk Projects, wait for this to load, do a search, do all that stuff. You can still if you want, but you don't have to because your recents right here will show it too. So when you click in the Autodesk projects, it'll show you all the projects you've been in. If you click in recent, it'll show you all the projects you belong to and that you've recently been in as well. I haven't been in all these, so I don't really know why it shows that, but that's pretty cool. Last but not least, I think that's my list. I've got one other thing outside of this that only architectural folks will appreciate. That reminds me, actually, this would probably be a good time to mention. Keep in mind, I only grabbed some of the general overall improvements and things. There are specific things to disciplines in here. I didn't dig into all of them. I'll be honest. I don't know that I even care about a lot of them just because, none of us currently have any need to improve structural, physical, analytical, and automation. But there may be some stuff in here for MEP specific, probably not interiors necessarily called out specifically, but structural, MEP. I think there's some civil things in here. The structural gets really in depth. But please take a look through here. They've got it broken down pretty good, in things that different areas you can really narrow down and filter down to the updates. But yeah, take a look through here. There could be something in here that you're really, really impressed with, and do the same with the Revit 24 as well, especially if you haven't worked in it much. Last but not least, this is probably not going to excite a lot of you, but it does me because of over the years troubles with trying to create Mullion types that are sophisticated. In profiles for Mullions specifically, you could only do one closed loop. So as you can see in this picture right here, it was impossible to create this. In order to create this, what you would have is your profile would be just the outside. So in essence, your mullion would be solid thick. And the only way you could get this to show up in sections and floor plans and such is if you inserted a detail component into that profile. Now you don't have to. It's probably still a better idea than to do what they show here, because it's going to be taxing on your system for the system to always rethink and revalutize and reorganize what priorities of graphics and things to show something like this. But if you do have something maybe not as complicated, maybe you don't even need to show all this inside, but you do want to show it that it's a hollowed out thing, you know, in a floor plan detail or something, you can easily do that with the profile now. See, I told you I wouldn't be too excited about that. All right. Does anybody have any questions? We're right up against it. I know we started a little bit late. You know, if you're wanting to see more, I can always, you know, get with you separately, show you some more. If you want to go on your own, do some lookups on some videos. I know the Revit Kid does a pretty good job. BIMPure does pretty good job. If you go to bimpure.com, he's got pamphlets that he usually issues for free as well as paid, that he goes through and highlights the, you know, the different features and what he likes about them. There's a lot of resources out there for you to kind of look more into this. But I really strongly suggest you try to get into a little bit before you start working on the Little Traverse project, because I'm sure there's some time savings in there for everybody. Maybe not everyone specifically to a discipline, but across the board, there's got to be something in there. Sheet collections might be one of them, and maybe not immediate ROI on it for you, but there will be at some point in these large projects where that is definitely going to give us a return on our investment by using it. So. Anybody have any comments, questions, concerns? Kudos? Non-kudos? Jason, shut up.
Jason, did you want to quickly touch on the PDF improvements?
PDF improvements. Yeah, you can do
There was
that.
one that covered allowing you to print PDFs or export PDFs in the background.
Yeah, I think it's this guy here, I think is what they were talking about. Oh no, it's this one, the background. So, yeah, I'll briefly touch on this one. It's no different than what we've done in the past, right? It all looks the same. The difference is this little guy down here. What this allow you to do is, if you've ever printed full sets of PDFs before, you know you got to sit there and wait for it to get done. You do not have to anymore. So if you check this export in background, you can export, you can continue working, and when it's done, it'll pop up and ask you where you want to save it to. Now, what I don't know is if it's strictly for the export or if it also works with printing. I didn't get that far into it. Nathan, did you happen to jump into that at all or no? I think it's
No,
just
I
the
just saw it.
export. Yeah, I think it's just the export, which we introduced, I think 2023 had it. We briefly touched on it a few times. Maybe some of the newer folks that just joined Bodeway within the last year or so may not have been around for that, but there is a way to export PDFs now where you can have them rename themselves. You can have them individually name themselves based on the parameters within Revit. I think we have a video on that, I believe. If not, I'll get one created so you can refer to it, but it is a pretty nice way to be able to eliminate a step. I mean, my old steps for creating projects with Bluebeam have always typically been exporting or printing through Revit, printing to a single file, using the Bluebeam tools to auto create the page labels, then exporting or extracting them all from there with the file name or with the page label as their file name to a directory. And therefore now I have a combined set and a extracted set all in a few seconds. But this is even taking it one step further and allowing you to set that all up before you even export it. And this also includes those preset numbers, the prefix numbers that we all add at the end. You can include those with this. So you can include the sheet order number at the very beginning, your space, then your sheet number, your sheet name, whatever the nomenclature is you're looking for, and it'll automatically do it. So you don't have to go back through and post process those. Highly suggest using this tool if you can. Thanks for that, Nathan. Appreciate it. Again, if you guys go through this and you have any questions, you want to see it without messing around, you're afraid of breaking something. I mean, I know this is one I wanted to mention, but I hadn't yet. For those of you that don't know, TwinMotion is now included with the AEC collection, so we all have access to it. It's very similar to Lumion in the way that the graphic user interface is. I haven't played with it a ton. I know Marley has. Sorry, Marley, for calling you out on that. I know you've kind of messed around with it a little bit. Steve had reached out to me before and realized that this was an included thing before, so I've been looking at it a little bit. This may end up replacing Enscape, Lumion, saving us some money. It may not, but it's worth taking a look at. Just the fact that it'll switch out Revit families to TwinMotion assets automatically is pretty freaking awesome. I've spent a lot of time in Enscape and Lumion trying to grab the Revit families and linking them to a Lumion family or replacing them altogether. This can actually do it automatically. So that's pretty cool. It's worth taking a look at if you get a chance. Everybody has access to it, so you could start using it tomorrow for your renderings if you wanted. You don't have to, but you can. Here's another one right here. This one right here, Michael O'Keefe. See on here? I don't know if he was on here or not. I think he had his eyes dilated. But some of the electrical folks, Taylor Davis, you guys might like this. There is, and I don't know what the ramifications are yet, as a whole. But there are some electrical system improvements with nested families. If you do happen to take a look in this and you see that it's really cool, I would love the opportunity to have you come send me a message and let's look at it so you can explain it to me, because I'm not an engineer. I can probably draw the stuff if you tell me what needs to go there, but I couldn't design it by any means. So please, if you get a chance to take a look at this and it's something really cool, let me know. That goes for all disciplines and all architecture, interiors, everybody. If you get in here and you find something really cool, share it with the group. Let's get it out there so we can all utilize it and save some time. Awesome. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate your time.